Hello everyone, welcome back to Cooking with Donna. Today I am making up a blackberry pie. This is something we always had growing up. My mama used to make all the time. We had a bunch of wild blackberry bushes around our house, and I would just sit there and watch mama make those pies and just wait for that to come out of the oven. And every time I make this pie, it just takes me back, and I'm sure a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to pies that your mama made. But it just does something to me every time I have the taste of this pie. This is out of any dessert, cookies, cakes, anything, by far my favorite. And a lot of times it just hurts me to even make it up because, it takes me back to those days, missing my mom. But I'm going to share this with y'all. Okay, but here we have 6 cups of blackberries. Now, blackberries, I used to have some blackberry bushes here, but they went bad on me, guys. And I had them for years. But I have some frozen blackberries and I have some fresh blackberries in here for texture. You can use all frozen or all fresh, but them fresh blackberries, you buy them in the groceries, they're expensive. They're very expensive. But if you're using the frozen, please put them in your strainer, your colander, and then just let them, release all that frozen moisture that comes off of those blackberries, because you don't want that in there. So make sure they're defrosted really well. So there's my blackberries. And like I said, that's 6 cups. I'm going to add my sugar. And taste your blackberries. A lot of times you can have some that are nice and sweet. A lot of times you don't get so lucky. They're more bitter, so you can adjust your sugar. And everything you need is in the description. There's some lemon juice, and I have some cinnamon and some cornstarch. And we're just going to gently mix these together. What I like to do is just kind of toss them a little bit and let these hang out on the counter for maybe 15 minutes. Okay, and now just grab it from the bottom, make sure everything's, because I don't want to disturb these much and break them up. But I tell you, this pie is just, it takes me back. Mama used to, like I said, bake it up, and there's 8 of us growing up, 8 girls. So when that pie came out, you girls come out and get your pie and your milk. I can see it like it was yesterday, and Mama would slice that pie up and set us all at the table with her own pie and a glass of cold milk. Okay. Curtis, can you hand me that crust over there? You're going to have a 9-inch crust, pie crust. Now, you can use the pre-made ones that are, they come in a box already pre-rolled for you, or make your own. If you would like to try mine, I do have another video on that. I'll drop that link in the description as well. But right now, I'm going to let my berries hang out. So, we'll be back. Okay, my blackberries have been setting. I'm going to go ahead and pour these beauties right in the crust here. I do have my oven preheated to 425. We're going to put this in the oven for about maybe a half hour. Give it a head start on browning. And after that half hour or so, we'll turn it down to 375. All right. Just kind of get them all evened out there. And the downfall about the pie is waiting on it, because you do want this pie to bake up, and then it has to cool for at least 3 to 4 hours just on the countertop. Because if you cut the hot pie, it's going to run everywhere because it needs to tighten up after it sits and cools. Now on top of this, I'm going to dollop it with some butter, about a tablespoon of butter. I always get impatient when it's time to eat this pie. I just love, love, love blackberry pie. Now, if you have some mixed berries, you could do a mixed berry pie with some raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries. That's really good. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I have my crust rolled out. I just kind of knocked it while ago and hit it. I hope it doesn't fall apart on me. And I have it rolled up right on my rolling pin. Oh, that's sticking right there, but that's okay. We can fix that. Get that off there. Okay. Now, those store-bought crusts that are already made for you are really good as well. But I always make my own up, or I'll have some in the freezer. And where's my little... I'm going to trim some of that off around the edges. But you do want to leave a good overhang on this because we're going to tuck it up underneath the bottom crust. So just cut a little off. Now, if you're making your pies, it's a 9-inch that I'm using. Just be sure that you roll that crust out a good 3 to 4 inches larger than your pie plate, because you need some of the hangover to tuck up underneath that bottom crust. And I just don't want all of this. This is a bit much here. And we'll cut this piece off here. And I think that'll do. Okay. And I never throw my extra pie crust away. I always use that for jelly tarts or some little cinnamon wheels. Mama used to make us up all the time. Now, you can get yourself... First, what you want to do is just take this top crust, and you have your bottom crust here, and just tuck it right up underneath it. Just like that, and just kind of press it down. And you're going to do that all the way around. If you have any cracks in your crust or anything, just kind of pinch them together. Get it sealed. But you do want to make sure you tuck under and press firmly. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing this. Okay, guys, I got my crust, my top crust on there. And what I did was just pinched it together and then kind of pushed it down in there. Or you could do the fork, you can do lattice, whatever you want on your pie. This is just something simple I do on mine. And I'm going to lightly brush it with some milk. Probably about a teaspoon of milk. This will help with the browning. Okay. Now I'm going to, you don't want that milk in the corners there. Get it all spread out gently. And just make sure your crust is nice and cold, because it just gives you a nice, tender, flaky crust. This is some delicious crust here, guys. If you want to try it, like I said, I'll leave that link. But those store-bought ones are good. But there's nothing like a homemade crust. Now, at this point, you can drizzle maybe a tablespoon of sugar with a little bit of cinnamon. Just a little bit of cinnamon. And drizzle it right on top of that pie. But I'm not going to do that because I put a light glaze on mine when it comes out. And now I'm just going to give it a few slits. That way that steam has to release from there. Nothing fancy. because we're going to cover it up with some glaze. Just so some of that steam can release. Okay. In the oven it goes. It's at 425 for a half hour. I'm going to kick that temperature down after a half hour. We're going to bake this till it's golden brown and bubbly, and basically just until it's golden brown, probably an hour or so. Now here you want to do this because you do this gently. You don't want to disturb your little pleats there if you put any. We don't want to mash everything down. But this is to protect the crust on the edges from not over browning, because in the oven, if you just put it in there like this, it's going to over brown. The edges are going to burn, and we don't want that. But if you have a pie shield, even better. I keep saying I'm going to get one, and I don't. But just gently, as long as it's hanging on there. There we go. In the oven it goes, guys. And do put yourself a cookie sheet at the bottom. That way if you have any overspills. But don't set it on the cookie sheet, because you want that bottom of the pan, you know, exposed to that heat. You want a nice browning. So if you set it on a cookie sheet, that'll prevent it from getting nice and golden and flaky on the bottom. So just put you a cookie sheet on the bottom rack. That way if there's any overspills, or even a sheet of foil. That way your oven doesn't get all messy on you guys. Okay, guys, I got the pie out. Mine didn't drip, thank goodness, but oh, I just can't wait to have a slice of this. Mine cooked about, actually a little over an hour, just until it's nice and golden brown. And when you take it out of the oven, I just let it set there maybe 10 minutes. Now I'm going to head and put the glaze on it while it's still warm. Because with those sweet, tangy, sometimes bitter, and with this sweet glaze on the crust, it just, I love it. Love it. And for the glaze, everything you need is, like I said, in the description. And this glaze will just, try not to get it down into the pie though, where you made your vent there. Lightly go across that crust, the ends here. And this will firm right up on that pie. Okay, now the waiting game begins, guys. And I'm going to be at this counter slicing me some up with y'all. Probably, because I want to make sure it's not going to run everywhere. And like I said, if you want to cut it now, it's going to run. All of your berries and juices are all going to end up on the side that you cut it. But that's your choice. Okay, we're going to let that set up, guys, and I'll cut a slice with y'all in a few hours. Okay, my friends, there is the blackberry pie. I did put mine in the refrigerator the last hour to try to help firm it up a little bit, but knowing I used a little bit more frozen blackberries, it's going to be more juicy, and that's how I like it. I don't like a stiff, gummy. When you put too much thickener in, it gets real gummy tasting, and I don't like that. But there's the pie, guys. Look at there. Some ice cream with that. Yummy. And I haven't tried it yet, but I'm fixing to have a bite. How long did this chill, Curtis, altogether? Or set out for 3 hours, I think?
Close to it, I'm
or
pretty
2 hours, an hour and a half in the refrigerator? Or hour? Talk about memories. My goodness. God, that is good. So good. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And to all my new subscribers, I welcome you. And if you haven't subscribed and you're watching, please do so and go check out some of my other videos. And I hope you guys enjoy and stay blessed, and we will see you next week. Make you up some pie. Bye-bye.